right, guys, so I'm going to be going over my lease presentation with you, and this is basically how to present a lease to a customer and go over all the ins and outs with them and be able to demonstrate why a lease makes the most sense for most buyers, if not all buyers. There are a lot of things to unpack here, and keep in mind you don't have to go over all of these points with your customers, but you should be going over most of them. And the closer the payment gap between leasing and financing, the more value you're going to need to build in the lease, so the more points you're going to have to make. But a situation like this where it's a drastic difference, you can probably keep it a little bit more brief, just going over all of the highlights to be able to demonstrate that leasing isn't a scary thing. It's something that actually makes sense for most people. So just keep that in mind. And also something that I like to point out is make sure you present all numbers first and then ultimately give your customers the chance to tell you whether or not they're interested in leasing, rather than word vomiting on them before they can even object to anything. We want to make sure that there's an actual objection before we ever try to overcome an objection with a customer. So just make sure you give them the chance to tell you what they want to do, and then ultimately you can then pivot to explaining and demonstrating why leasing makes the most sense. So I'll go ahead and get into it. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. You can always leave a comment or just reach out to me directly. You can also shoot me an email at paradisesalestraining@outlook.com. Okay, so I'm going to assume that you have gone over both the financing and the lease options, and you've demonstrated to them the payment options for financing being drastically higher than the lease. And it's really easy to lead people in this situation when you are doing your initial presentation and simply say, hey, Mr. Customer, as you can see, you've got payments as high as $948.09 at 48 months with $1,000 down, as low as $660 per month with $3,000 down, stretching it out to 72 months. Or we can keep it nice and simple and keep you at a very comfortable $446 per month on a 36-month lease, 12,000 miles per year with only $1,000 out of pocket. Keeping in mind, you also could put a little bit more money down and stretch the term out and do $363 per month with $3,000 down. Now, I know which route I think I would go, but ultimately, go ahead and circle and sign which one works best for you. And then we're just going to wait. And this is what I was talking about, where we're not going to give the customer any objections, or we're not going to try to overcome any objections until after the customer has time to process and let you know. And ultimately what they're going to say is they're going to hit you with something like, well, I don't want to rent my car, right? And that's the easiest one in the book. It's, if you don't make your payments on a finance contract, don't make your payments on a lease, the bank takes both. You don't really own the car until you have it paid off and have the title in hand, right? But outside of that, a lot of people are just uncomfortable with it, with the regulations or requirements, I should say, having a mileage cap, just not understanding how it works. So what you're going to do, okay, is we're going to draw two lines. So we're going to draw line one. We're going to say that's 72 months. Okay, and then we're going to draw line two. That's going to be 36 months. And then we're going to make it nice, round, easy numbers for doing math later. And you're going to say, okay, we've got $690 a month for the 72-month contract. Nice, even numbers. And then we're going to say for the 36-month contract, also $1,000 down. It's $446. We'll just make that $445 per month. Right? Nice, simple, even numbers. Not necessarily even, it's an odd number technically, but very easy to do the math here. And we're going to immediately demonstrate to the customer, like, hey, Mr. Customer, so before we get into things, right up front, you can see that going with the lease option is a drastically lower payment than the finance option. You can see that at $690 a month for 72 months versus $445 for 36 months, you're saving $245 per month. And that's your savings. And if you were to extrapolate that over 36 months, you're going to get a drastically higher number in your savings. And that payment is going to come out to a total of $8,820 over 36 months. Now you can do this early in the process or late in the process. It's totally up to you. So, hey, Mr. Customer, at face value, I'm sure you can see the savings here. You're going to be saving $245 a month. That's going to be a total of $8,820 that I'm going to save you over the 36 months. And I know what you're thinking. Well, yeah, I'm saving that money, but ultimately it's like renting a car, right? Or why would I do that? There's got to be some sort of catch at the end. Well, that's the beauty of leasing. I consider leasing a two-part loan. That's two parts, right? Part one, we're just going to be paying on the depreciation of the vehicle, right? And then part two is where you get the options. And this is what I love it for. So option A, you're going to be able to buy it. Option B, we're going to be able to trade it. And option C is we're going to be able to just turn it in. Now, those three options are going to be built into this lease, and the reason that there's both the trade and the turn-in option where you're getting rid of the vehicle is because the beauty of this is you have options even if you're not keeping the vehicle. So we're going to be able to take a look at it at the end of your lease. And let's say you decide that you don't want to buy it. You don't want to keep it. You want to stay under warranty. You want to reset the clock. You want to get back into the latest and the greatest, having just saved $8,820 on payments over those first 3 years. Now we want to look at our options to get into the next new thing, the next new Tacoma, right? So option A, I guess you could say in this situation, would just be the simple turn-in option. If you're under your miles, you can always turn the vehicle in and basically get into your next one and not have to worry about incurring any mileage penalties as long as you're lower than the miles. Now, let's say you are under your miles, you got that turn-in option, and you can see here, you've got a residual value, Mr. Customer, of $31,954, right? And that is Toyota guaranteeing that your vehicle is going to be worth $31,954 at the end of this lease. So the reason that's relevant is because of that trade option, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to actually do an appraisal for you on your vehicle when you come to turn it in or upgrade or however you want to look at it. And in a world or a situation where your vehicle is worth more than that $31,954, congratulations, we're going to trade you out of it. You're going to be able to capture the equity. Now, in the event that it's worth less, well, that's where we're going to go with the turn-in option, and you're not going to have to worry about that equity because Toyota said as long as you bring it back under 36,000 miles and under or in good shape, that they're guaranteeing it's worth $31,954. So that is now their problem. Now, let's say you did go over your miles, right? We're going to do the math, and we're going to figure out exactly what your mileage penalty would be, and let's say it's going to be $2,500. Well, you'd have to drive a lot of money or miles for that to happen, but ultimately, I'm still going to look at the trade option because let's say your mileage penalty is going to be $2,500. I want to see what it appraises at because at the end of the day, if I was to trade you out of it and it is worth less than $2,500 less than that number, well, congratulations. We're now just going to trade it and you're going to be able to just have a little bit of negative equity rather than a $2,500 mileage penalty. Now, let's say we look at the trade and it's worth $5,000 less than what your lease end value would have been. Well, now we're just going to pay that $2,500 mileage penalty and you're still going to be putting yourself in the best situation. Let's say up here on the finance contract, you decided that you wanted to trade it in. And we'll just say trade. What's the value of your vehicle worth? Ultimately, we don't know. That's a really terrible question mark, but that's a question mark. We don't know, right? So down here, we've got flexibility, security, and options, right? Because we can trade it or we can turn it in. Up here, we can only trade it. There is no security blanket for that turn in. So let's say up here, it's worth less than the $31,954. You're just stuck with that. There's nothing you can do, right? So down here, security and options. Now, we haven't talked about option 3 yet, which is buy it, right? If you decide to buy it, this is why I call it a 2-part loan, because now you can finance it for whatever term you want, right? Which is right, question marks, term. And the reason that that's beautiful is because it's going to give you the ability to control your payment again. Up here, we're at $690 a month locked in. Down here, we're at $445 per month for 36 months. And then from there, you can finance $31,954 for whatever term you choose to keep your payments where you want them. But that's assuming you buy it. Let's do some math here. If I save you $8,820 over 36 months, and you still have 36 months left on your finance up here at the end, well, now we can lease it again. We're going to say lease 2. Oh, that's going to be a question mark, but lease 2. Now we can do that again. So let's even say that you're not going to save as much. Let's say the payment goes up. Let's say I save you $8,000 in payment savings, right? Now I've saved you $16,820 just in payments. But wait, I know what you're probably thinking. Well, the second half of that finance contract is when I'm going to have to start doing some major maintenance, right? We're probably going to have to pay $2,000 for tires. we're probably going to have to pay $800 for brakes. We're probably going to have to pay an unknown, ungodly amount for flushes. Personally, I lease all my vehicles, so I couldn't tell you what it's going to cost to do a flush on a vehicle because I've never had to do one. But I can tell you that brakes and tires are both very expensive. So flushes, brakes, tires, any other maintenance that comes up over that period, you've got to pay for it. Not to mention, since we're talking Toyota, oil changes, right? Now, down here, you've got Toyota Care. So you've got the first 2 years of maintenance taken care of. You only got to pay for 1 year of maintenance. Second lease, assuming Toyota is still doing Toyota Care because they've been doing it for a while, we're going to get it again. You've got 2 years of this lease taken care of. So now, over this 6-year span, you're only paying for a third of your oil changes. Up here, you get your first 2 years free. You're paying for 2/3 of your oil changes. You're paying for all of your tires. You're paying for all of your brakes. You're paying for all of your flushes. Now, on top of all of that, we've got warranty that we need to worry about. The reason I bring that up is because most people don't want 2 car payments. You're under bumper-to-bumper warranty for this first 36 months. For the next 36 months of that finance contract, you are not protected for all those electronics. So I would highly recommend getting a service contract to make sure should something go wrong, you're taken care of. And that means that $690 payment actually just went up. But down here, bumper-to-bumper warranty, 3-year, 36,000 miles. Get into a second lease, bumper-to-bumper warranty, 3-year, 36,000 miles, right? So now I know what you're thinking, but at the end of that 72 months, I've got a paid-off vehicle. Oh, well, that's exciting. However, I just saved you $16,820 in theoretical payments down here. I just saved you $2,000 in tires. So now we're at $18,820. We're going to add $800 in brakes on top of that. So now we're at $19,620. I'm going to be saving you on, we'll just say, what, $300-400 of oil changes? So we're pretty much at 20 grand right there. And that's if we don't do any flushes, and that's if we don't do any other maintenance, and that's if we don't buy a warranty, right? $20,000. After you add the warranty, the flushes, and anything else that might come up, we're probably talking between 24 and 26 grand, right? Let's just make it a nice even number. And we're going to say 25K in savings. In 72 months, right? So now let me ask you, if Toyota's saying that your vehicle is going to be worth $31,954 after 3 years, what do you think it's going to be worth after another 3 years? Do you think it's only going to depreciate another $7,000 over those next 3 years? Or do you think that the $25,000 of savings is going to far outweigh what you would actually be able to recoup had you kept it for those full 72 months and had a paid off vehicle to then trade towards another one? Because I'm thinking that $25,000 is going to be greater. Now, I know what you're thinking. Sam, this all sounds too good to be true. There's probably nothing else that you haven't told me, right? You're wrong. Because we're also going to be able to save some money on taxes. Because taxes are paid up front when you finance. But taxes are paid on payments when you lease. Why is that relevant? Well, I'll tell you why. Because ultimately, if you were to finance it, roll all those taxes up front, and then for some reason you hate this thing, you want to get out of it in 18 months, but it's a Toyota Tacoma, so we both know that's not going to happen. Let's say in 18 months you decide you want out of it. Well, you just rolled all the taxes into the loan and you've been paying interest on those taxes and the vehicle's been depreciating the hardest in the first 18 months. So you just lost a crap load of money on taxes that you can't recoup because of the depreciation that already occurred. Now, the same thing happens down here. You've got that hardcore depreciation in the first 18 months. The first year is the hardest depreciation of a vehicle's life, but we didn't put the taxes into the payment or payments. We didn't put them up front. They're on the payment, right? So you haven't paid any taxes on anything that's after this, right? Haven't paid any taxes on it. So that means if you decide to trade out of it, we're just going to figure out where your equity position is, and it's probably going to be a better spot than you would be up there, where you put all the taxes on top of it and paid interest on those taxes and lost out on those taxes because of the excess depreciation that happens in the first year, right? So not only am I saving you $25,000 over those 72 months, but I'm also going to save you taxes in the event that you decide you want to get out of it early for some reason. Now, I'm sure what you're wondering, but wait, Sam, isn't there more at this point? You seem to keep going. Well, you're correct, because one other benefit that you get is the security blanket down here that I already mentioned. That $31,954 that Toyota is guaranteeing your vehicle is going to be worth at the end of the lease. Why is that relevant? Well, let me ask you this. If you get into an accident right here, what happens to the value of your vehicle? It goes down, right? It goes down. Let's say you just got it back from the body shop and another accident happens. What happens to the value of your vehicle? That's right, it goes down again. So let's say you get hit twice during the first 3 years of owning this vehicle. You're going to have excess depreciation from the damage, even if it's properly repaired. But over here, you're signing a contract saying if you bring it back in good condition with under 36,000 miles at the end of the lease, Toyota's guaranteeing it's worth $31,954. Toyota's not having you sign anything saying you have to bring it back with a clean Carfax, right? So up here, you're going to get hammered when you go to trade it in. But down here, you don't have to worry about it because you did the repairs properly and your insurance company probably paid for it. And I'm not even going to say your insurance company paid for it because it was probably the other guy, right? So you're protected from situations like somebody else being a bad driver and hammering you and then affecting the value of your vehicle. So it's just one more layer of protection you're getting on top of all of the savings that I've broken down for you. So to recap, I'm going to try and save you $25,000 approximately between maintenance, warranty, payments, all of that over a 72-month period. And I'm going to have had you in a brand new vehicle twice in that span instead of once up here. You're going to be getting into your third Tacoma at the end of that 72-month span, right? Now, on top of that, I'm also going to give you more flexibility. Buy it, trade it, turn it in. Why is that relevant? Well, 3 years from now, life happens, life changes. What if this isn't the right vehicle for you anymore? I don't know if you're a responsible enough adult to know exactly where your life's going to be in 3 years, but honestly, if you would have told me 3 years ago I was going to be living in Lewiston, Idaho right now, I would be questioning you. So that goes to show life happens, things change, circumstances change, right? So having those options in 3 years can be nice, even if you're planning on keeping it. Now, what if you go way over your miles? Great news. We're going to look at trading versus turning it in. What if you're under your miles? Great news. We're going to look at trading versus turning it in. We're going to put you in the best financial situation possible because ultimately it's Toyota footing the bill, not you, not us. So we're going to set you up for success because we want ultimately, obviously, to get you into another vehicle in 3 years, ideally, right? We're also going to give you the extra protection of not having put all those taxes up front so that you're not preloading your taxes and then losing out on excess depreciation should you have to trade out of it early, right? There is no situation where you get burned here. The only two situations that I have ever seen where somebody got burned, the first one, a customer leased their vehicle, they filed bankruptcy, they didn't reestablish their credit. At the end of their lease, they had kept their vehicle and they wanted to buy the vehicle, but they did not have the credit to support the purchase. So let me ask you, Mr. Customer, are you planning on filing bankruptcy in the next 3 years? No? Okay, cool. The second one, a customer went through a nasty divorce, things went up in smoke, they decided to go scorched earth on each other and tank each other's credit, and then they decided to come and try and buy the lease out at the end. They didn't have the credit support buying out the lease, they couldn't buy out the lease. Now let me ask you, Mr. Customer, are you planning on getting divorced and going scorched earth on your significant other in the next 3 years? No? Okay, perfect. In that case, it sounds like you're a great candidate for leasing because whether you're driving over or under the miles, it still makes sense compared to financing. It gives you the extra flexibility, having options in 3 years. It gives you the extra security, knowing exactly what Toyota is going to guarantee your vehicle is worth and knowing that you can trade or turn it in. And it also gives you the extra savings, knowing I'm saving you on payment, I'm saving you on those taxes being loaded up front with that extra interest, I'm saving you on some oil changes, I'm saving you on tires, I'm saving you on brakes, I'm saving you on flushes, I'm saving you on warranty. I'm just trying to save you a bunch of money. So let me ask you this, Mr. Customer. Are you okay if I save you roughly $8,820 over the next 3 years and ultimately save you roughly $25,000 over the next 6 years? Is that something you'll allow me to help you do, Mr. Customer? Because if so, I just need to know which one of these options works best for you. Okay, so that is my lease presentation. Once again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me and let me know. I would love to run through this in person with you. I would love to answer any questions and ultimately help you become better at doing this presentation. There is no reason when you have a aggressively incentivized lease that you should not be leasing at least 2/3 of your customers, realistically 80+%. It's mostly a fear that customers have of leasing just because they don't understand it. And unfortunately, most salespeople don't understand it as well. And not only that, but it's simply a knowing problem where you just don't have enough customers that are aware that this is even an option. If you went out and made sure everybody was aware they could get a brand new Tacoma with minimal to no money down for under $500 a month, I don't think that there would be any Tacomas in stock anywhere, because this is a $40,000 vehicle. The value there is absolutely bananas. So make sure you sharpen the saw here, get dialed in on how to present this lease, and practice, 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 so that ultimately you can make sure that you are maximizing the opportunities before you and selling as many cars as possible. And on top of that, it's gonna set you up to sell some more cars 3 years from now, and 3 years after that, and 3 years after that, and 3 years after that. This is how you make a career in the car business. Thanks, guys.